Alright, welcome back to another episode of If You Build It with my girl Eamoni, aka Beer Bay.
And gang.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. How about yourself?
I'm good. Tell the people who you are and what it is that you do.
My name is Eamoni. I am the owner, co-founder of Urban Garden Brewing Company. I'm a beer brand and distribution company.
Okay, first black-owned woman beer brand in DC. Yes. Tell me about that experience and the journey of putting it together.
So I started in 2016 just home brewing, and after doing it for a little while, I really enjoyed the process. So I decided, I kind of want to make a beer brand. My original vision was to open up a brewery, to open up a tap room. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll just do what it takes. So my uncles got hip to what I was doing, and they built an entire beer cave, and one of my uncles built a beer cave in their backyard. So I was just busting out recipes, bottling.
What's a beer cave?
He literally built, so you know what a man cave is, and you build a shed and all that stuff. He literally built a man cave beer cave to where I would come every weekend and I would brew. I would make brews. So I would have carboys of fermenting beer in his man cave, and then mostly was outside because the beer smell is I like the smell, not everybody does. But anyway, so I started with that, and then finally, once I got really good at it, I decided to start with 5 recipes, did a survey amongst friends and family. Then I started with, I divided it down to 3 recipes, and then those were the ones that everyone was like, yes. And then out of those 3, I was like, okay, what's going to be my flagship? And the beer that's out now, Camelite, ended up being that one beer that both experienced beer drinkers and non-beer drinkers both liked. So the experienced beer drinkers appreciated it. The non-beer drinkers were like, I don't drink beer. This tastes like tea. I love it. So that was how that started. And then fast forward to the pandemic, I realized that people like myself were priced out of the market, and even if I started a brewery, who was going to distribute my beer? So that's when I decided, you know what, no, I don't even want to open up a brewery. I want to start a beer brand, but I want to start a distribution company because I want to help other people like myself when they do open up their breweries to distribute their product into the market. Okay. So that's how that's how all that happened.
Okay, what was the importance of the survey when you first started the company in terms of working on the recipes?
The survey was important because, you can make beer, but does it taste good? And then also everything is marketing. Just because you like the flavor doesn't mean everyone else likes the flavor. So the survey was important for just building on those recipes, finding out this is too hot forward, or this is too light, or this the chamomile is overwhelming, or the lavender is too bitter. Especially when you brew tea can sometimes overbrew or overcook or whatever, and it's kind of the same with beer. So those surveys were just basically helping me really build a recipe that was a crowd favorite. Yeah. So that's why it was so important.
Okay. Where did your inspiration for the flavors come from originally?
So I used to work around the corner from Calabash at Shaw, and I used to go there before work to get all of my herbal healing and everything. And we kind of got into a conversation about alcohol and how our folks, we started it, but when it moved into Western culture, they figured out how to extract the most alcohol out of it. So we went from having low ABV for medicine and healing to having your alcohol, your 99 proof stuff, which is essentially killing you or whatever. But basically just being there, she reminded me how it started, and a lot of people don't know that beer actually started in Egypt. Black women actually created beer, and they say Egypt, but also they don't want to include the whole diaspora of Africa. But So basically what inspired those flavors was kind of getting back to the roots, getting back to how we used to use herbs and spices to make barley soup, and how that barley soup used to be used for rituals and stuff like that. So I just really wanted to bring back from calabash the healing properties of herbs and mixing it with like low ABV beer, and kind of giving you something that like you can feel good about drinking. It actually has some type of properties, healing properties, and it's just not overdoing it in the alcohol percentage.
What does low ABV beer mean?
So low ABV beer is just basically the alcohol percentage. So Camel is 4.2%. You can find beers that are high as like 10%. I'm not saying those are bad, like those are nice for sipping, but if you're talking about like, our big thing is like quality over quantity. So if you're thinking about a beer, like especially for women, like no, we probably shouldn't be just knocking back like 6 packs, but you know, like it's 4.2%. So you know, you can have 3 and not feel like you just, you know, you're about to get wasted, you know, and it has chamomile in it. So yeah.
Okay, shout out to you. So let's talk about the importance of the team and the folks who move around you in this business endeavor. Shout out to those folks. Let me know about that breakdown and that experience. Okay,
team. So when I first started, I already knew that I couldn't do it by myself. I did have an initial investor. However, you know, I'll be very like, you know, transparent. Oftentimes when you have like this, a new business, you have a vision of how you see your business, but then, you know, when you have investors involved, they then, you know, have a vision of how they see the business. So originally, they kind of licensed me as a restaurant, but I already knew I didn't want to have a restaurant because it's just
who are they?
Oh, initial investments. And I love them. They're amazing. Like, thank God for them. But it was just, so the importance of a team is basically like, even if you have a team, y'all all have to be on the same page. So, you know, I honestly, when I made that switch and was like, I don't want to do this, you know, it was kind of like, well, show me what you want to do. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I was by myself for a little bit, and I was putting all the money into my business. I was doing all this stuff by myself, and I felt like I really had to prove myself. And then finally, during the pandemic, I did a pitch to kind of like bring on another partner. And then I also, one of my best friends that I grew up with, he also tried one of my beers, like at a beer launch. And so I was just like, so, okay, I got him first, and I was like, hey, I need a business partner. And he was with me. He was like on it. So he handles all the right tech. Shout out to Stefan, co-owner. He hands out all the tech. He hands out all the stuff that I don't like to do. Like, I hate tech work. I hate paperwork. I don't like doing none of that. So he does all of that. And then our partner, Tay, is really awesome. He, you know, he's one of our like just business advisors, and just helps us kind of like make some of those like hard business decisions. And then we recently brought on our territory sales manager, Bree, which has been so helpful because she also knows everything about sales. And so basically the importance of having a team is knowing that you can't do this by yourself. Like, you literally can't do this by yourself. Like, and if you go into a business thinking like, yes, me is all me, you're not going to be successful, because you have to know your strengths and your weaknesses. I know my strengths and weaknesses, and so that's why I was able to humble myself enough to say, hey, you know what, let me share a piece of this pie. You know, so we can all, you know, we can all come up. So I mean, that's really important. So, you know, so it's like 4 of us now, but then like it's just like a tree branch of just relationships and networks that help keep Urban Garden growing. So.
Did you realize you would need a team in the beginning of your process, or did you find out as you were trying to develop everything, oh, I need people I can depend on?
I knew right away I was going to need a team, because first off, like, brewing is just the one part. And that's why there's like so many home brewers, but not every home brewer aspirations are to open up a brewery or to start a distribution company. So I already knew I was going to need a team. Now, I will say this, and I'll keep it transparent. No offense to this person. I will not say your name. But the person, you know, that I originally started with, like, they they thought that this is what they wanted to do, but they realized it took work. Like a lot of people want to be the best rapper, they want to own a business, they want to start a fashion line, whatever, but they don't want to do the work. And then once they see that there's work to be done, so that's when I knew, like, nah, I got to build a team, because I can't brew the beer, package the beer, deliver the beer, market the beer, sell the, like, it's just a lot. Like,
and this is the beer.
Oh, and
you
this
can
is
just
the
put
beer.
it in this camera right here, close up. There we go. So tell me about the packaging and how important the packaging was for this drop.
So Camelite, this is my baby. So I actually was really excited because one of my cousins, his name is Moses, he did the original illustration for this can. And then another cousin who's also really dope, a graphic designer, he did the graphics. He did the entire label. Like, he did the design and everything. And then Alex Froley, like, she kind of like templated, because she works in the beer industry, and she does cans and stuff. So she was able to template it to what a beer can, like, is supposed to look like for printing. To be form fitting. And so I was really happy with it. So Camelite originally was a play on the word like Camelot, but then chamomile, and then it being a light beer. So that's why it has like a castle, and then you see like the flowers. But it's just so important, because this is just like 100% like black art, black beer. Like, it's amazing.
Blackety black.
It's blackety black, and I love it. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, but this is the last you'll see of this design.
Okay.
Because
so there's a newer design.
Yeah, there's a newer design. So this was our limited edition can release.
I will be keeping this can then.
This is limited edition can. Since we're doing a large mass production of it, we are rebranding just to have something that's more competitive in the beer market. So
what's the importance of a rebrand?
So the rebrand is basically like, so when I'm looking at this can, and as much as I love it, as much as I love the art, I'm thinking from a consumer aspect. I'm thinking about people who don't know who I am, people who don't know the company, people who are just getting out of yoga and going to the beer store for a case of beer. What's the eye drawn to? Yeah. What do they see? And while I love this design, people who know Urban Garden, like, they know what to look for, or they can ask the store manager, hey, where's Camelite? But, and you know, if you're like really looking, you might see that and be like, oh, that's really nice. But for me, I just know that, like, when I go into a craft beer store and I'm a craft beer enthusiast, I'm going to go to where my eye's drawn. So the rebrand is important, because you have to, like, sometimes take out your personal feeling about things and then really think about the consumer aspect of it.
Okay. Yeah. So you literally shelved your emotion and said, what do my consumers want? Yeah. Or need, especially as we're creating our name. Yeah. How do you reach out? What does outreach look like?
To the consumers? Well, basically, like, I mean, I work in the industry, so I'm always studying. Yeah. But also just, I like direct feedback. Like, you know, I've had people message or like, oh, hey, I'm at the store, I can't find it, or like this or that. And I also ask a lot of questions from, like, experienced brewing companies. I'm like blessed to have such strong relationships with, like, a lot of the DC breweries. But basically, like, the outreach basically is just looking like just basic direct conversation, you know, and having these pop-ups and these launch parties to get everyone's feedback at once. So it's kind of like I'm still doing that survey. And now the survey is about, like, I have now here's the recipe. Now, what do y'all think about the entire presentation of it? And I've gotten a lot of great feedback. I've had people say, like, yeah, like, I love the can design, but it kind of reminds me of this company. I'm like, crap. Or like, oh, I love the can design, it kind of makes me think of this. And I'm like, no, that's not what I want.
Yeah. So there's storytelling is very important to what you guys do. So what's your story? Why beer?
Beer, because when I was in college, my first job happened to be at a I've been working in beer for 8 years at this point, and so, but I chose beer. I like challenges. I'll start off to say I'm very competitive. I love challenges. And being in beer, I haven't seen anyone that looks like me.
Yeah.
Until social media, there was a black woman owned in Harlem, I think, or Brooklyn. I think it's Brooklyn. There's a black woman owned. It's in the South. I have to remember, but they're just so spread out. But I don't see these people. So beer, because one, I love brewing it. I found the passion of it. Not enough people look like me, and even if they are women, they're not black women. Hell, I don't even know brown women who do it. So I just wanted to break into the industry because I really just wanted to inspire, like, our people, especially, that there's so many things that you can do in life. Like screw the beer. Like beer. When I tell people I make beer, they can't comprehend it. And I think that's why, because I want people to understand that, like, you don't have to do what you're expected to do. Like, you don't, like, if you want to be a doctor, that's great, but there's so many things you can do. Like, you don't even have to be the brewer. Like, you can be the marketing rep for a brewing company. Make bank.
There's so many jobs and opportunities.
So many jobs. So that's why I chose beer, is because I just wanted to kind of like show people that, look, I'm actually love making beer. I'm passionate about beer. I worked hard for it, and now I have beer in stores. Like, you can do whatever you want to do. What
stores is your beer located in?
So Craft Beer Cellar. If you go there, we just read up. Again, we're doing a rebrand, so just look out for the drop of what the new cans look like. We're in Serenata, which is a Grammy-nominated cocktail bar in Union Market. We're also at Metro Bar DC, kind of near that Rhode Island, Brooklyn location. And then we're also at Culture Coffee 2. It's also in that kind of northeast area as well. We had a very limited amount of cases, but with this new launch, just stay tuned. You can go on our website. We're gonna have like a whole list of locations.
What's your website?
urbangardenbrewing.com.
Okay, so you touching on how important representation is to the industry that you're a part of, especially when you're looking across the landscape. How important are these relationships that you've built with these distributors when it comes to where people can purchase the product? Well,
relationships are 1,000% very important, and I would say relationship with retailers, because I'm DC's. All the independent distribution companies have closed, so conveniently, so you have a monopolized distribution thing that's happening in DC, and all the little guys have closed, and I decided to just pop up. So as of right now, I'm the only independent or like small distribution company in DC. So I don't have relationships with them. I do, but indirectly, and we're not gonna talk about that. But retailers and breweries, the importance is that, like for I would say, I'll be honest, when my product first, before it even launched, I already knew it was going to have a home. Because just because of like the relationships I built, like I didn't have to worry. I knew that, okay, I know at least 3 restaurants are going to buy my beer effortlessly. Because I go there, I built a relationship, and just with breweries, I like the brewery I work with, like when I told them that, hey, this is what I want to do, they were like, okay, let's make some phone calls. Let's hope. So that's why relationships are important. Again, you can't do it by yourself. And also, when you do something that doesn't just help yourself, it helps others. If people can find value in what you're doing in a way that actually helps them, they're going to be more inclined to help you. So, you got the production. So it's production, distribution, retailer. So it's like we're the middleman. So they're saying like, oh, hey, like, cool, like, we can make the beer and we can go through you, and the retailer is like, oh, I can get it from you and make it like, is this circle of life. And then you put like strong relationships in it, like people are more inclined to work with you based on that relationship. So super important. Be nice.
You
never know.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the production.
Yeah.
What's the value
of the production? Well, it's not legal to sell beer out of your home. It's actually very illegal thanks to prohibition laws. You are legally able to. I feel like the marijuana industry and beer industry are like very, very similar, but you are legally able to like sample amongst your friends and family, but like you can't legally do it like to the public. Like, so I couldn't go to the public and be like, try my homebrew. Like, you know, it's just so much stuff. So the production part is really important. And not just only getting it produced, but finding a production facility that genuinely wants to work with you. Because you can go there, they can take your money and you cannot be happy with your product.
Yeah.
But finding, again, goes back to relationships, researching and finding and having those conversations before you just jump out there. Like I had this conversation I think like 2 months ago, and we're set to kind of brew in January, but it took time to kind of, you know, to build that kind of rapport and to really decide that we both wanted to work with each other. So yeah, it's really important. Without them, I wouldn't have cans because they're responsible for the packaging, the labeling. I mean, we're responsible for the storage, but the production facility does the shebang.
Okay.
Yeah.
How has their opinion influenced the direction that you're going in when it comes to the company?
Their opinion like just gave me so much confidence, because a lot of the stuff that I was saying, I thought they were going to be like, why is she trying to change everything? And they were like, oh no, you're right. Like, you're right. Like, because especially when I was talking about like rebranding, I was like, I know you all like approved of this can label, but, and they were like, no, the fact that you even thought of that is phenomenal, because, you know, we support whatever you want to do, but we'll be honest, when we look at this label, you're thinking about being in the market, blase blase. So it really just gave me confidence in my direction as a business owner, my vision of the company, and it just really showed me that I was growing, that like I was able to see these little things that experienced veterans were picking up. Probably weren't going to tell me, but they validated my decision. So
what's the importance of standing for your recipe?
Everything. Because what will happen is you'll walk in and then you start with a recipe and you allow people to have too much like input, and the next thing you know, it's not your recipe anymore. And you know, then you don't really feel like, I mean, yeah, you have a product, but it doesn't really feel like it's yours. I think with my first brew, I love them, they're so amazing. One of the guys that was like one of the brewers, very experienced, a veteran, he was telling me how I didn't need to open ferment with the chamomile. He was like, oh no, you know, because we tried it right out of the direct tank as we were brewing, and he was like, yeah, no, the chamomile's fine. I don't think you don't need to add anymore, you're good. And I was like, and the other girl, she's a girl brewer too, and we were looking at each other, and I was like, okay, all right, you're right. I was like thinking the brew day was still going. And I went up to the female brewer and I was like, I was like, no, we gotta put the chamomile in there. Like, we gotta put the chamomile in there. I was like, I respect that he's a veteran, but no, I want more chamomile. And so happy I did that, because if I didn't, the beer wouldn't have no chamomile. Because once you ferment out a beer, sometimes the flavor profile is lost, but because we added that extra pound of chamomile during that fermentation, the chamomile flavors like really came through. And then the female brewer, she was like, I'm so happy you went with your heart. So, because otherwise I would just have a blonde ale, no chamomile.
What's the importance of the flavor profile?
It's everything. It's like a course meal. Like, you know, it's like wine. Like when you're drinking wine, like it starts with the smell. Like, how does the beer smell? Like, I've had beer that tastes good but smell terrible, so I won't drink it. Like, the flavor profile, like how is it from start to finish? From the moment that it hits your tongue, like it should be a dance, you know, like, okay, boom, oh, it's like, oh, it's refreshing. Oh, ooh, that's chamomile. Oh, it's finishing with honey. Like, it's an experience. Like, beer is supposed to be an experience, you know. But, like, you know, when you drink, like, domestic beers, you drink it super duper ice cold because there's no flavor.
What's an example of a domestic beer?
I can't drop no names, but you know what a domestic beer is. You know, when you go to the stores and you see the ones that are always there. Cough, cough. One is kind of similar to COVID, but you don't say COVID, you say the other word. Like, those are, like, domestic beers. Those beers that, like, they just there. Like, you see them. Yeah. Those don't really have flavor. Like, people drink them ice cold. Like, you have to have a beer like that ice cold. But with craft beer, you have it at a certain, you know, like, stouts can be a little room temperature or, like, barreled age because it's an experience in your mouth. Like, sorry if that's weird.
No. This is beer. We're talking about a flavor within the mouth.
It's literally an experience. It's literally just like drinking wine. Like, you go on a wine tasting, the beer tasting is like the same thing with craft beer.
Okay, all right, now that's dope. When you first came up with the idea of really bringing this to life, what was the importance of money coming into this?
First off, you need money to start a business. And I think it's just really unfortunate because it's not that people don't have good ideas. It's not that people don't have the passion or the work ethic. I mean, when it really comes down to is the resources and the money. I didn't have money to start. And I think that's been one of the hardest things because it kind of sometimes becomes discouraging. Like, when you know, like, damn, like, I have to pay for liquor liability, workers' comp. I have to pay for storage, transportation, licensing renewals, like, numbers that you look at and you're just like, it's scary when you don't have, like, that loan from your rich dad or mom or something like that. Like, doing this, like, hustling from the mud, is really important to be able to find investors that you trust, that believe in what you're doing and that genuinely want to work with you. And I will really say this, like, you can get investors, but just because someone wants to invest in you doesn't mean that you should partner with them in that investment, because next thing you know, they might drop $20,000 on you, but say your business structure isn't set up to profit. Now you stuck. Now they literally control your entire business. It's gone, you know, and now you're just working for them to pay back their money. So it's just like it's a really tricky situation. It just really sucks when you don't have money. But luckily, DC also has a lot of resources and a lot of grants and different loans and different business organizations to help small businesses get money, like Made in DC, Latino Economic Development Center, like. Those are really great foundations, but I won't lie, like, and I won't pretend that, like, it's easy. it's really not. We've had some tears, and we're still shocking. You really don't make the money in your first year. Like, your whole first year is just
keeping it afloat.
Literally keeping your business afloat until you make some type of gross profit value.
Okay, what's the importance of vetting those who want to invest in your company? Is there a process behind that? Like, hey, I have a list of questions for these guys or women. Yes,
there's a long process. A lot of times, and you have to think about it like sharks. I don't know if people have seen Sharks. My dad actually has made me watch Sharks on a daily basis. Did you watch Sharks today? Hey, you need to watch Sharks. Because you're looking at the pitch, but you're also looking at what investors do and how you have to negotiate. Because sometimes investors will be like, okay, boom, here's $50,000. I want 20% of your company. But 20% of your company is a lot. Like, what does that even mean? Is that 20% off of beer sales? Or 20% on merchandise? 20% off my soul? Like, what does that mean? So, yeah, you have to ask these questions. You have to be very, very clear. Like, okay, if my company does not have any gross profit value right now, what are you getting a percentage of? Like, And so there's some investors was like, well, I want profit right away. So that means if I'm not making any money, right? If I'm selling my beer, but all of the money is going back into the business, but I made an agreement with an investor that they get that 25%, we're going to go under, you know? So it's really, really important. Like the questions I like to ask is like, where do you see us in a 1 year span? Well, I start with the 6 month, 12 month, 3 year, 5 year.
Yeah.
Are you looking for a long-term investment? Or are you looking for a short-term investment? If you're looking for a short-term investment, I can't help you. If you're looking for a long-term growth investment, I can help you. Percentage of the company? Well, I'm not giving more than 10%. So, you know, this is, and then if you're going to say 10%, this is what the timeline looks like. You wouldn't be paid back until a year from now or something like that. So you have to be really, 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 really specific. You have to make sure when you're doing these investment contracts. I avoided contracts. I've written contracts and purposely put certain clauses in there because once they're broken, the contract is null and void. So if I say, well, to have some ownership, you got to do this, 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 and this, and you don't do this, this, and this, perfect, cool. All right, now let's revisit this because we got to get on the same page. So it's really important. Like, it's a lot. Oh
no, I feel you. Half a year ago, I had a friend from college reach out to me and say, hey, I want to invest in your company. And I was like, well, how much do you want to invest? He offered me a little bit under $10,000 for 20%. And I said, hell no. And he was like, well, why? I was like, my company is going to get bigger and it's growing. It's literally in its infancy stage. You're not going to see anything until 5 years from now.
Literally.
If I sell you 20% for $10,000 in 5 years, those two values aren't going to match. And we don't have the same vision as to what my company is. Because he's telling me what he thought my company is. And I said, no, it's not that. This is what it is. And this is where it's going. I don't think you're going to be making your money back.
And that's really important when you say, like, what you thought it was going to be. Like, one of my investors, like, when and I love them. They're amazing. The big conversation was, like, they really wanted, and this was the second investor that really wanted me to open up a brewery. And I was like, I'm not opening up a brewery. What I'm doing is way bigger than that. Like, not way bigger, not to knock the breweries, but I want to do a distribution company. But they couldn't get, because again, I feel like, you know, us as like a black community, we limited ourselves so much that they're like, yeah, brewery, restaurant. Do you know how many restaurants and breweries are open right now? I don't want to do that. Everyone it's oversaturated.
Yeah, and they're bound to close within a couple of years because there's so many.
Right. So it took some time to really like take the investor. Like, I was like, look me in my eyes. You need to do some research. And I literally made them do homework. I was like, do you know what a distribution company is? Do you know the importance of a distribution company? And I made them do their homework. And Lord behold, when they really, really researched exactly what it is and understood what I was trying to do, they were like, oh, okay. Now let's get into it. Like, let's get into it. And so, but that's awesome because a lot of investors aren't willing to. You got to understand, some of your investors don't know anything about your industry.
They just know they have money.
So also, I require education. You need to know what you're putting your money into because I can't have you thinking that you're buying one thing and you about to make this much when that's not the case. So that for all of my investors, like, that's mandatory. And, you know, I might come off as the angry black girl, like, oh, she's so, but I just know that, you know, this is my baby, like, and if we all going to come up, we have to make sure we're all on the same page. So.
No one's going to understand the value of your product like you will.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, what's the importance of a license?
Well, you don't want to go to jail. That's for what. When you're in the beer industry, liquor, alcohol, food, any of that, you gotta understand, like, you're rolling with the big boys, so you gotta have all your everything in order. And I'll give a really, really, like, great example. A couple of days after my launch, it was a big hit. my launch party, my recent launch party, I had like different brewery owners there. I had like just all types of dope people. Some politicians was in the building. It was like super awesome. After that, I literally, and I'll tell this story because y'all did not have to do me like that. Really after that, I had some people from the licensing investigators.
ABC.
They went, there we go, and they went up to my jobs looking for me, asking them. They was asking another business for my stuff. Like, first of all, why are you asking them for my licenses? You come ask me, like, what? But I had all of it in order. Now, if I was moving funny, they would have bagged me. But literally, they were just expecting this young black girl to just be moving with nothing. I had every single, from my certificate of occupancy, my LLC, my trademark. I am federal and state licensed wholesaler. So nobody can fuck with me. Like, excuse my language. Nobody can F with me. But it's really important, because take that time out and put your head down. Take your time out to make sure you're licensed, because it's very important, the legalities of everything, and to just make sure your greatest loss is moving without a license, because you can be fined, you can risk jail time. And so I would just say, cross your T's, dot your I's. It's cost a lot of money, it sucks, but it's worth it in the end, because if you truly believe in your business and your success, you just gotta get licensed. And also, I want to tell y'all, LLC does not mean you're licensed. LLC is not a license.
It just means
you still need a basic business permit. You still need a basic business permit. If you're operating with LLC right now, you do not have a basic permit, like basic business permit, you're not legal. So get legal.
Okay, so in the in-between time, we're talking about the importance of building relationship within the community instead of the numbers. Let's talk about that for a bit.
I mean, numbers are numbers, relationships are everything. Like, again, I'm the new kid on the block, but my beer is selling. Now, why is it selling? Because of relationships. Now, if I didn't have any relationships, if I just would have got my licenses, just, kept my head down, I would just have all this product sitting. But a lot of people don't understand, like, again, like, it's not just about the product, it's about the culture behind the product, and it's mostly the story. Like, people, the beer is good, but people aren't buying into my beer. It's the story behind the beer. It's like, oh my God, like, this girl, she's from DC, she's a friend, I've partied with her, I've been to shows with her, or I've been drinking with her. She's one of us. She's one of us. Like, what? She did this in her uncle's backyard. Like, oh, she ain't got no money. Me neither. Like, what? How'd she do that? It's the story. And a lot of these big brands, they're kind of fighting to stay relevant, not realizing the reason why they're losing the relevance is the authenticity, the relatability. Like, people relate with Camelite because they see something, they see something in it within themselves. Like, so yeah, relationships are everything, and just remembering that people aren't numbers and dollar signs. They're actually humans, and you should connect with them and share the experience versus diluting them to this number.
So what would you like folks to take away from your experience?
I would like folks to just know that you literally have the power to do whatever it is your heart desires that is within this realm. I think some things you might have to, exist in a different realm to do, but like, for the most part, you can do pretty much whatever you want to do. You just have to take the time out, really focus on it, not be afraid, ask questions, believe in yourself, and just know that, like, life is a giant playground, and there's moments that are serious, but everything doesn't have to be so serious. Like, I started this in my backyard. Now it's on the DC market, and the most important part was I had fun. Like, I had fun while doing it. I mean, I had some tears, but I had fun. So just have fun and do what you want to do, man. Like,
as a black woman, what is the value that you bring?
I mean, just, like, that's a really good question. I've actually had this question asked in another interview. I would just say just a reminder that, you know, we create our own story, we create our own narrative. Just a reminder that, like, we can do what we want, especially that whole angry black woman trope. Like, that's not real. Like, I just want to be a reminder for people that, like, I don't care. People will call me, I know I'm really a nice person, you know, but people who are threatened, especially by black women, will call you mean, call you angry, and you really just have to be walking up in there like, anyways, hi, whatever, I know I'm great. So I think that's just the value of representation.
And standing firm in your belief.
Yes.
Okay, so where can the people find you?
Okay, so you can go to Craft Beer Cellar on H Street in Washington, D.C. You can go to the Serenata, D.C. Union Market. You can go to Culture Coffee 2 Cafe on Rhode Island. And you can also go to Metro Bar, D.C. as well. These places are amazing. And you can also go to www.urbangardenbrewing to find out like how, you know, expand the other stores that are going to be added to our account. And you can follow us on Instagram at Urban Garden Brewing. And yeah.
Okay. If there was one piece of advice you would want to give to someone who's building anything, even if it's a company similar to yours, what would you tell them?
The one advice I would say is to keep going. Like, it's a lot of people only fail because they don't keep going when it's hard. Just keep going. Literally, that application for your license is going to look long and tiring. Take a break, and then wake up the next day and keep going. You don't understand the question? Go to the library, go to your resource, get the answer, keep going. You gotta just keep going. Just keep going. Keep going. Keep going. That's the best thing I can tell you. Like, do not stop. Literally.
All right, this has been another episode of If You Build It with Eamoni. Appreciate you so much. Definitely looking forward to all your endeavors, and thank you for sponsoring both Get Home Safe and If You Build It for the year of 2022.
Yay!
Peace.
Thank you, Juice.
Anytime.